Can you hear me now? I don't know why the wrong device was selected. I only have this one mic. Hi, Ricardo. Can you please tell me if you're hearing me now? Ah, is the volume too low, by the way? Because I did have a problem the first time that I tried Streamlabs. I tried to mess with some settings, and that's probably what got this muted. Okay, so what I was just saying is that I was going to create a new test for the front end, and we're just going to test if an unpublished sponsor is not showing and if a published sponsor is showing. I've actually wrote the feature directory and added the .php extension, but that led to the wrong file being created, so it was on the wrong directory and it had the extension twice, and I've just fixed that, removing what was extra. I'm going to now delete the wrong file. So feature front, this is the wrong one, and we should have a front sponsors test. So we are going to just do get to the page that we need to go to, so the support us page. I'm going to check if we do have a route for it, but let's just make a quick test to see if this is running. So this is a test that we can leave it as is to see if we can go to that page and if the status was 200, and let's go and test that. So PHP artisan test, let's add our filter for I'm going to try front sponsor to see if only our sponsor test for the front end is running and not the one in the back end. If either of them, okay, no tests executed, so probably this this flag didn't work, this filter didn't work. Nope, not again. Let me just try and add just sponsor. It should be running two files now, the file for the test on the backend and the file for the one that we've just created, the test on the front end. Yep. I mean, I can live with this for now. These tests don't take too much to execute, so so let's leave it like that. I do know that the filter flag, you can pass it in some regex, but I'm not going to worry with that for now. And we are we are getting the support us page, and we are getting HTTP 200 code after hitting that page. Let me see if we have a route, a named route. Actually, I can do that with the web.php file. It should be on our routes. Support us, yes, we have a named route. Let's try and hit that. I think it's route and then name of the route, and oops, okay, I was confused with double curly brackets. Probably not the correct name for that character, but let's live with that. And we had a problem. We have an unexpected token. Oh, it was yeah. My eyes were not playing tricks on me. Hi, Tony. And our test passed, so we are pinging the support us page. So we can write a test for support page is working, and then we'll go on and test our sponsors. To test our sponsors, we are expecting, I'm trying to use the expect here then, filter my test name. Oh, so yeah, I can just call the test. Let's rename this. So what can we name this? Unpublished sponsors are not listed on the support page. I wonder what you think on test name length. Is this too lengthy or is this cool? Let me just update the way that I'm calling this filter. It should be this. And yes, thank you, Dan. Bye, Tony. Thank you for showing up. We are not calling our test. It just isn't checking anything for us now. So at this point, what we can do is go to the PEST documentation website, pest.php. Not the source code. I want the documentation, and let's check the expectations. And what I want is to... Okay, thank you then. So this is a lengthy name, but I think it clearly describes what's going on. Maybe I'll change this from working to loading. I think it's a more sympathetic name, if that's a right adjective for it. And I want to see if on that page that we've just loaded, we can find in this case, not find the name of the sponsor that will be unpublished. So in using assertions, I would assert that we see and assert that we don't see. I'm not finding it here. I know where I saw an example with that. It was on the Laravel website. Let's try and see what is there, and then we'll adapt that to PEST. So HTTP tests. I'm not, by the way, using a front-end framework for testing like Dusk, because it's just a simple matter of checking if we see some strings or not. We don't need to mess with JavaScript, so I'm just going to use simple HTTP tests from Laravel. And let me search for assert C. Yeah, okay, so this is what we are trying to do, I think. Test a welcome view can be rendered. I don't actually want to call a view. I want the results, so the HTML. Let's go on a little bit further down the documentation, because I don't want to just check if the view is rendering. I want to see the whole HTML. And this was it. Yeah, we can check for text, and that's what we want. I'm just going to let's wing it. I think it will work. To create a sponsor, I'm going to copy what we did on our backend test, because we actually need sponsors on our database to test if they are showing on the front end of the website. So we need a user, a sponsor image, a URL. We are going to create a sponsor, and then just check if it exists. Probably with PEST there's a way to extract this, so we don't need to write in all the tests that we need to do that we expect sponsors to be on the database. We can extract that to a function. Probably it's something that we would put here, so maybe we would create a function called create a sponsor or something like that. Let's go with the easier version first, and then if I have time in the end, we'll try to do it that way, because it would be a bit cleaner to then just be repeating this everywhere. So let's change this get to below. So first let me just write some comments. Create the scenario. in this case, create a sponsor, create unpublished sponsor, specifically published sponsor, and then I need a user to log in, I need an image. This URL, why is that? I don't need it to be separated. It will be false because it is unpublished. I can just remove this variable. After creating the sponsor, I'll just be checking by name if it exists on the database, so I won't be doing any. Let me just correct this space that it's extra. I won't be doing a huge test to see if all attributes are filled correctly, because that's not the aim of this test. And we can remove this. So now we are creating a sponsor, we are getting a sponsor from the database, and we are expecting, oh, actually we can leave something in here. Remove the R again. We can check that it is unpublished, and in this case it is false. And then we are going to go to the route and see that we don't get the unpublished, I'm missing an H, unpublished sponsor, and we should do something like that. I'm going to leave the expectation, this expectation in comment, so we can just check if the test is running until we get to this point, because this is where I'm going to invent a little bit, and let's leave that for later. So expect response to see. No, it's not like that. Okay, step by step. Let's run this first to see if we don't have any problems. We do. What is the problem? Class user not found. Great. It's just a matter of importing the user class. So use user from the models, and let me try and see if I get this shortcut correct. So it should be command Fn F12. No, F12. Yep. I managed to open the terminal with just 2 keys. So okay, what's the problem now? Class uploaded file not found. Okay, we close the terminal, and I have that because I don't know what the class is, the fully qualified class name by hand, and we need to catch this. And also I think I'm forgetting the storage fake. Oh no, it's there, the code, but I do need to import. And let's try and run this again, and it failed. Okay, class sponsor not found. Again, another import, but this I know what it is from. Use sponsor, it's a model, and let's see, failed because I've changed the sponsor name when creating it, and I need to change that in the expectation. Okay. Field asserting that null matches expected unpublished sponsor. I had this problem yesterday. The sponsor was not being created, and it was because of the published scope. Oh, okay. Great one, great moment here. So what is happening exactly? We are getting the first sponsor from the database, but we are saying that we don't want it to use the published scope. So we have a global scope applied to a sponsor that is filtering to only get the published sponsors, but we are saying that we don't want that global scope to run in this case. So we should be having our sponsor right now. The error that we have here on our terminal is saying that we aren't getting any sponsors from the database. So Either there's a problem with this query or the sponsor is not being created. Let me try and do a DD from the result of our test. And we have an unpublished sponsor where published is false and type it's platinum. So we have a sponsor being created. Now let's try and tinker with this query that is being made. I think that we can do something like this to dump out the underlying query. Let's test this. Select all from sponsors where published equals, and then we're passing 1. But without the global scope, this shouldn't be happening. Let me try and remove this first. I'm not sure if we're going to get the first result. Yeah, we can't add that, just the DD. Select all from sponsors where published. So what I'm seeing is that this without global scope is being ignored because because the query that we have is the same. Yep, same query. Funny. Unreachable statement. Yeah, I was trying to see. Okay, let me just make sure I'm seeing everything correctly. Because we shouldn't have the same query for these two scenarios. Why don't I have the two dumps? Maybe I need to put this last because it's already a DD. We can also get query. No. I'm only getting one dump, but yeah, we have the same query being made, even when the global scope is not applied. So let me see if this scope is not mentioned here on the imports, and that can be part of the problem. Let's see now if we still have the same issue. Let me just clean up this dump and select all from sponsors. Okay, who'd have guessed it? So what was happening is that we are saying to Laravel that we want to call the sponsor without the global scope, and then we are passing the global scope. But this global scope was not added on our imports on the top of our test file. It should throw an error, but somehow Laravel is mapping this class to some class, and it wasn't actually removing the global scope because the fully qualified class name, when we are calling it like this without the import on top, is different than when we are declaring it on top. So what was happening is that we were applying the global scope, the correct global scope on our model, and we're trying to remove another scope. That's why our query wasn't working. Yeah, funny thing to do and to figure out while you are working live. So our test passed. Let's go to our next step, which is the response. I will try and DD the response just to check if we have all the HTML from the page here, and if we do, I think we can try something with expect. Otherwise, we'll just go with the assertions. Yeah, we have here the whole page, and let's try and expect. Expect. What is the correct? We want to not see something. To have key, to be null, to be JSON, to be string. What is this match? The first key that matches the argument. Let's try and go with match. In this case it's not, so we need to not match, and then we'll pass in not to contain. Okay. let's thank you then. Let's see the difference between match and not to contain. In this case it's contain. So with match we would execute a callback on the first key that matches the argument. Oh, okay, so it's kind of like an if, but yeah, we don't want that. Let's see the contain. Expecting a string to contain a substring or not. Oh yeah, so I think this is exactly what we want. We just need to make sure that if we pass in spaces, yeah, spaces count as another character. Yes, this should be working perfectly. Thank you, Dan, for the tip. So we expect the response to not contain the name of unpublished sponsor. Let's run our test. And it failed. Okay, why did it fail? Arguments must be of type iterable. Test response given to the assert contains. Let's see the example on the past website. I think I need to do something with the response first before using the expect here, because what is the type? What is the type? Maybe I need to call a toString on the response variable. Probably. I think that the response variable is an object. Let me try. Let's try and call a toString method on the response. Bad method. Okay. Can we see? Get class from the response, just to check what we have here exactly. And we have an illuminate test response. If my code completion was working correctly, I don't know why it doesn't work on past tests. I could see what methods I have available, but since I don't, I'm trying to wing it. Let me try and cast this to string. And it failed because the object test response cannot be converted to string. So what can we do? We can go to the Laravel API documentation and try to see what methods we have available for this object. Test response, and I think that is the correct class name. Illuminate testing test response. Illuminate testing test response. So these are all the assertions that we can call directly on that test response. Yeah. I was trying to challenge me to use expectations. That's why I was trying to do this differently. Get. What can we get? Maybe can we get the body? I don't know. The code. Call tap macro. response get content. Yeah, we can try that. I mean, I'm confused actually why I don't have code completion here on past classes. I've not in this computer, but in my previous one, I've actually had the past plugin installed and configured. I've installed this, but I haven't configured it yet. But I had the same problem. Yay! Then it was response get content. So I think we'll be able to actually use the expectations. So response get content, and that content should not contain the unpublished sponsor name. It passed. Let's just try and publish this sponsor just so that we can see. I mean, actually, it makes sense to duplicate, not duplicate, don't duplicate code. We can use datasets from past with true, false, and passing published. Let me see how I did that on the backend. Just it's with passing the variables and then published. Great. So not there on the other test. What I'm doing here is I'm using test datasets. I'm passing two values that I want to test for this exact same test, so I don't need to repeat it. So sponsors are shown, are listed or not based on published status. And I'll omit this, otherwise this title will be huge. To type in the, oh great, woo. Thanks Dan for the tip, and I'll also do it here on our backend test. And then we can use this variable to create a sponsor that is first published, and then we need to change our comparison here. And okay, so I think that now maybe a match would be a cool thing to try. And we also yes, then I could check for platinum sponsors or our sponsors. The first thing to check for platinum sponsors, it would tell us that our types are showing correctly, and the second, our sponsors could tell us that our page is loading. Let me deal first with something. This can't be the name of the sponsor because we have two states. So if, oh, I'll inline this. I think we can do it that way. So if published, not here. Oh God, it's raining cats and dogs outside. If published, it's published, and if not, it's unpublished. Sponsor, I'm going to repeat this just for clarity. I forgot the space, and then we have the correct name. We need to, maybe let's extract this to a variable, so sponsor name, because we're going to reuse this, and then we don't have duplicate code. Sponsor name. Okay, this is our sponsor name that we're going to be using for our comparison here. And to check what is on our HTML down here, let's just try and run this. No test executed. Okay, why? Because I've changed the test name and I was filtering for the previous name of this test. Is our test running? No, it's not. Yeah, because of this comparison, because we have this not that is fixed. And then let me just add a note here to check if, let me write it. I'll be duplicating it, but then I will be improving on this code that will be commented. Expected to contain platinum. So we are kind of indirectly checking to see if our sponsor level is appearing, and our sponsors, let's go with Dan's suggestion just to see if the remainder of the web page is showing. So, oh, it's actually supports us, the title of the page, and platinum sponsors is the section for that particular sponsors with the type platinum. So my alarm just went off. I'll need to run in a little bit, and it's raining outside. I need to get my rain pants on, but the plan here is to see if we can conditionally add this not or not. That's a tongue twister there. And I think that going with match, which I was seeing by mistake, but I think it will work this time. Match here, because method executes a callback on the first key that matches conditionally. Oh, we have a when. Okay, and we can do a when scenario for both cases. So expect content when the condition is true, when published. In this case, our I'm thinking how. So in this case, it's not our user, it's our response get content, which I think it's best if I extract to the response variable. Response content. I'm trying to be a bit more specific with the variable naming so that we can see what it is. Still, this tests are fire. A pest is amazing. Yeah. Response content. And now we have when the sponsor is published, we expect it. Response content to contain and then I'll be fetching the name, and when, let me duplicate this, when it is unpublished, we expect the response content to not contain sponsor name and sponsor name again. And this is our test. Let's try and run this. Boom. Great. Thanks, Dan. And let's try and add in Dan's suggestions to check for the type being shown and the title of the page being shown. Okay, this is the problem. Let me format this, run the test. And it failed. Okay, let's see why. It doesn't contain platinum sponsors. I think it should. Let me try and move this up just to be, oops, just these 2 lines. It failed again. Okay, it's not seeing platinum sponsors. Do you also hum a song when thinking? I'm trying to find the HTML for that particular part of the website. Okay, see, this is the top of the page. This is probably the menu with a logo. This is a link for our menu items, and unfortunately I'll need to run. Okay, so what I think is happening is that when we are running for an unpublished sponsor, we won't be having what's the name, a platinum sponsor showing up. So I think that this needs to be moved here, and now our test will run. Yay, just in time. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, Dan, for all the tips and all the support. Thank you, Nikki, Dan, Ricardo, Tony, and I think that also, oh, I was dreaming that Francisco had joined us as well. Maybe next time he will. Yeah, have a great weekend, have a great day, and thank you so much for